My name is Tiara Fair, and I am here with the 21-day Racial Equity Challenge participants. This is just a few of the over almost 8,000 participants that did the 21-day Racial Equity Challenge with us, and I'm so excited to have them and excited to talk to them a little bit about what the challenge meant to them and what they learned. So we are going to just jump right in and get started.
I think the most impactful for me was everything. I think when I first started, I cried for 3 days when I actually started it. And I took some time to kind of try to figure out why I cried. And what I realized was that, you know, as a person of color, sometimes we hide those things. Sometimes we've had to suppress thoughts and knowing that we felt like this and that we don't have the opportunities and we have to fight harder.
In the chat room in Facebook, someone mentioned that everybody has equal privileges. This is the country that everybody has equal opportunity. And that struck me as very strange that that so many believe we all have equal privileges or advantages. That is not true. However, I found that it makes people uncomfortable to say that it's not true.
The most meaningful thing for me throughout the challenge was gathering with my church community every Sunday and having a discussion of 20 plus people about what was the most meaningful thing for you this week. Where were you challenged? Hearing those stories and hearing how people's hearts were beginning to change. This is where we of course do as individuals, but it's when we come together and share our experiences and learn from one another that I think we are able to make the kind of change that the challenge desires.
For me, the bigger replay that breaks my heart is with Jacob Blake and his children, watching him get shot in the back 7 times. So for me, that's what's happening here. They're just more and more outlandish, chasing a man down, Ahmaud Arbery, in a neighborhood, chasing him down. So, you know, people say I've been harassed. You haven't lived until you've been hunted. So for me, it feels like the game's being stepped up, even though we can do things with video.
The program had so much variety in it, and I really appreciated that. And there were days where some of it was too much, and I would revisit it on the weekend when I had a little more space to get to it, and you could catch up on the weekend. And some days I had the capacity to do all 4 challenges. And other days it was a 3-minute video, and I could do a visual when that fit in my schedule, and I could do a long read. And I really loved the way it came at it for whatever people could take in. And I would encourage people to do it because you can do it at multiple levels. And if you only skim the surface, at least you skim the surface.
Thank you again for letting me be a part of this. I have chills right now, and that doesn't happen too often outside of sports. I think my wife will tell you that. Unless you're a Phillies fan right now, you're really in depression. But this discussion has enlightened me again, just hearing different viewpoints. And if there's more discussions, please let me know. And I'm so happy to see a face to all those challenges that have been getting emailed. And thank you guys. I really appreciate all the insights, and it's amazing. It just gives me a whole new perspective on things.
I'm very not active on social media. I'm a lurker, I hardly ever post anything or do anything. But one of the things that I did, not just after taking this challenge, but when everything started to happen in late June, early July, was I purposely posted things. And that's because, although I would like to think most of the people I'm friends with on social media feel the same way that I do, I know that that's not necessarily true. And even if I can reach one person who never thought that way before, it's critical that I do that. So speaking up and speaking out, I've always spoke up when I heard or saw something wrong. But to be quite honest, just as an example, the company I work for, we didn't come out with a message soon enough, in my opinion, about the civil unrest going on in this country, and I brought that up. I spoke to my manager, I spoke to the executive team at my job and said, we need to get a message out now. Like, this is not something that you stand back about. So I think for me, it's just, even though that's not what I normally do, doesn't matter. I need to do it. And that I think is what I'm doing differently.
So for me, I said silence is not an option. I heard Tony sort of refer to it. And I just really, because of the 21-day challenge, have taken a deeper dive into this concept of being able to voice myself in a way that can be heard by those who won't listen. So as much as we want the 21-day to be with everyone, let's just keep it real. Everyone is never going to do it. So what is our ability, Susan, this is my challenge to me, to use my ability to win others over in a way that they can hear this snippet or that snippet. And this has given me the firepower to do that. And I would encourage everyone who wants to be an ally, an advocate, an accomplice. Black people have to do it too, because we can't do this alone.
I just wanted to know if you all felt differently about, so last week, the ruling for Breonna Taylor and whether the police officers that came into her home would be prosecuted came out late last week. Do you all feel as though you had a different reaction to that after taking the challenge, whereas before, was it the same? Or
in light of the Breonna Taylor decision by the grand jury, I think the thing that kept welling up most in me beyond the pain and the hurt that I saw and felt was that idea of the traumatization, the re-trauma that Black people feel, not only when the event happens, but often, of course, when an outcome plays out in public and it feels like replaying the same events over and over and over again. We learned about that in the challenge, about how this trauma sets in at a young and early age. And as a minister, that is something that I have to consider when I, pastor to people, when I preach to people. How are the events that unfold, how are they shaping people from an early age to a late age?
I mean, it's just hurtful, when you really think about it. It's hurtful, and it just keeps on happening, though I still believe, that we'll get to a place where we won't have to do that. Like King says, I have a dream, so I'm going to keep that. But still, it's very hurtful. It didn't change anything. It just kind of just said, here we are again. But I'm really hoping that, something will happen even in that course, that the other people looking at it, the FBI, the government, maybe something will come out that will change that verdict as well.
I understand people's anger and frustration. A person is dead who was in their house, not doing anything wrong. But the whole way that it unfolded, it's almost like it's a technicality, that the police are not being charged because, a fire was shot, a policeman was wounded, the second policeman fired back, and then this other policeman who was being charged with a crime of being reckless came round the back and fired indiscriminately. But it's almost like this technical thing is getting in the way for justice to be seen. And then, the city acknowledges that something, this was an awful tragedy, and the money that is given to the family is meant to be a compensation for that, but that doesn't compensate for a life and for all the injustices that have been done to other people.
I grew up in a very white community, and I thought of myself as very open-minded, but I didn't know a lot of this because it wasn't my lived experience. And history is written by those in power or the victor, and history did not include the fact that 2 GIs that came home from World War II got the housing. 2. Like, that is astounding to me. You know, redlining and not getting mortgages, and the story about a person that had to take down every picture of their biracial family in order to get an honest appraisal of their home. It's astounding. Everyone needs to learn this.
The school to prison is very close to my heart because I work with prisoners, and I have decided I need to do more research, more understanding of the system. But I think if people would look at this from the perspective of the 21-day challenge, they will see, as everyone else has said, they need to get involved. See what everybody sees or doesn't see, but look at what you can do through the school systems, through your community. Get involved. There needs to be some changes. That's why we're having all of these protests, because everybody knows there's something wrong. We just don't know how to fix it. The 21-day challenge gives us some information that we have never had in the past. So with that information, be active.
We're all in this thing together, but this holistic understanding that happened through the 21 days for me was, sort of like a transformer moment. I kept morphing each day into something else as a DEI professional, but as a person and as a part of this community and society. Silence isn't an option. That's my other opinion.